Hello, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the difference between speed and velocity. And the key thing you want to note is that speed is a scalar quantity, which means it just has a magnitude or a size. So for example, I'm driving my car at 5 meters per second, whereas velocity is a vector quantity, so it has that magnitude, but it also takes into account the direction in which I'm traveling. Okay, and so sometimes you'll find that your average speed is going to be different to your average velocity for the same journey, and we're going to look at an example of that in this video. If you do find it useful, do go over to my channel where I have loads of other maths tutorials. Okay, so let's take a look at this question, and it's the same scenario as I looked at in my previous video where we looked at distance versus displacement. So I have a particle which is starting at an initial position of 2 meters to the right of the origin, and it's just moving in one dimension, so it's moving along a line basically. So it moves from its initial position to the point A in 20 seconds. So it moves to the right a distance of 3 meters, and it does that in 20 seconds. It then, from the point A, turns around and goes to the point B. So let's mark that on too. So it moves from A to the point B, which is a distance of 8 meters, and it does that in 40 seconds. Okay, and we're asked to calculate the average speed and average velocity from the particle's initial position to the point A. So we're really just focusing in on this journey here. So to calculate the average speed of something, we look at the total distance it's travelled, and then we divide that by the time it's taken. So if we look at the journey from where it started to the point A, well, it's travelled a distance of 3 meters, and it did that journey in 20 seconds, and so I would calculate the average speed by doing 3 divided by 20, which gives me, if I was to write it as a decimal, 0.15, and that would be meters per second. So on average it's travelling 0.15 meters every second. Okay, let's now see how we would calculate the average velocity and if it's any different. So when we're calculating average velocity, we look at the total displacement of the object and then divide that by the time that it took for the journey. So in this case it's moving 3 meters to the right, so let's say movement to the right is positive, because remember displacement is a vector quantity, so the direction is important, so to the right will be positive, to the left will be negative. So again it's travelled 3 meters and it's done that in 20 seconds, and so the average velocity is also 3 over 20 or 0.15 meters per second. So actually for this first part of the journey, the average speed is exactly the same as its average velocity. Okay, let's look at part 2. It now asks for the average speed and average velocity for the whole journey. Okay, so that's looking at from where it started to where it's finished. Okay, so let's start off with the average speed. Well, it went a distance of 3 meters and then turned around and went a distance of 8 meters. And so its total distance travelled is 11 meters. So let's write that down. So it's travelled a distance of 11 meters. And how long has that journey taken? Well, 20 seconds plus another 40 seconds. So I'm going to be dividing that by 60. And so let's do it to 2 decimal places, 0.18 meters per second. And so for that total journey from where it started to where it finished, it was travelling at an average speed of 0.18 meters every second. Let's now look at the average velocity, which is ever so slightly different. So for that we want to look at the total displacement. Well, the object started at the position 2 meters to the right of the origin, and it's finished its journey 3 meters to the left of the origin. And so its total displacement overall for this journey is -5 meters, because it's travelled 5 meters to the left from where it started. So its total displacement is -5, so let's note that down. And again, it did that journey in 60 seconds. And so if we calculate that, I get -0.083 meters per second. And remember, that's the negative because velocity is a vector quantity, and so it's sort of overall moving to the left, which means on average its velocity is movement to the left. So hopefully this video was useful. If it was, do go over to my channel where I have loads of other maths tutorials, and thanks for watching.